You're listening to Radio Blah Blah with Jeff and Jeff.
Here it is, episode 4 of Radio Blah Blah. I'm Jeff Scott, here hunkered down in the cold in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. Over in Nova Scotia, Canada, who do we have on the other end?
Cool Uncle Jeff, and it's not cold here. It's about +4 at Celsius.
It's 7 degrees outside.
My mother would always say to me, my mother has a thick Massachusetts accent, you tell her what the temperature is, and she'd say, "What's that in real temperature?"
Yeah.
I just say, "Mom, it's double it and add 30. So it's 4 degrees just for our American friends who don't do Celsius. That's what double it's 8 plus 30 is about 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So
yeah, it warmed up a little bit. We've had some sub-zero temperatures.
Oh, it's
just
nice though.
Freezing cold, and it's raining and snow is going. It's tolerable. Yeah. I just got out of Star Wars. Finally got around to seeing.
Oh, you got to see it, did you?
I got to see it. Luke Skywalker at the end. I wasn't expecting him at all.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was okay. It was good.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I enjoyed the film.
Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Well, about that. To say. It was good. It was entertaining. It's like going to watch a Bond flick, right? Same thing. It's all special effects and
exactly.
But
yeah.
I thought it was good.
But you want to know what I liked about it? In the first half hour, I thought to myself, you know what? It doesn't look like CG. You know, the little R2 was a BB-8. He looks like he's actually there, and all of the desert scenes reminded me of the 70s Star Wars films. It had that feel, it had that look. It looked like it was shot on film. It looked much more analog than the last 3 or 4 Lucas attempts.
What do you mean? What do you mean it made it look like he was there?
It just didn't look fake. I mean, CG, I guess they've perfected it.
Well,
maybe they actually shot the thing in the desert.
You just ruined the whole film for me. Here I was thinking that was a real robot.
Well,
you know what?
That little BB-8 was really cool. Well, you know R2-D2 was there because they didn't have CG in 1977, right? So you know that this was an actual robot that they built. So this BB-8 had that look. I mean, I know it was CG because you can't make something roll like that. But
you realize you gave away, quite a bit of the film there for sport.
Well,
so
I'm assuming everyone's seen it.
Well, you just saw it. So
I just saw it on the last.
Luke Skywalker is in the movie, and he dies. Everyone, just so you know, he dies at the very end. He jumps off a cliff.
Oh, okay. That part I missed.
Anyway, that's why they call this Radio Blah Blah, because we can
talk about anything. Blah 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 blah. Star Wars. Blah 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 blah. Princess Leia. Blah 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 blah.
Exactly.
Yeah. One-hit wonders, Jeff. What's your opinion on one-hit wonders?
Well, I mean, geez, there are so many of them, and I think if you went by decade, you'd find that. I think we're going to find that there are even more of them in the 70s and 80s. Of course, the decade of the 70s really was built around one-hit wonders, and the 60s too, right? I mean, it was about one hit, right?
Yeah, people were looking for that hit. And if you could get that hit on the radio, that will launch your career and sell some records, but unfortunately for some people, it stopped with that one hit, and they never went any further. I'm sure they had hopes and dreams of going further and becoming legendary, like Led Zeppelin or Rolling Stones, or the Beatles, but I think kind of ended.
Well, I think it's a good topic because in today's, like I say, in today's music world, it isn't all that different now. I mean, you know what it takes for something to catch on now, and what it took to catch on in different decades is quite a bit different, I'd say. But I don't know. Like, I mean, it's just always interesting to see, because we're both musicians. It's always interesting to see, why do people like things? What's considered good? And then what has staying power? And and that'd be an interesting topic too, is to figure out, okay, what are bands that we predicted that would fail in the long run because they were just short term, and now they're still around. I have a big one on my list that I thought was going to go nowhere, and that was U2.
Yeah,
I was wrong about them.
Yeah,
I was right about a lot of other ones though.
The interesting thing about U2 was that they admitted that when they were putting a band together, they didn't know how to play other people's music. They weren't that good at learning other people's stuff, so they played their own stuff. And when you break it down, some U2 songs are 2 chords. Some are 1 chord all the way through. It's just all those delay effects and weird effects he puts on the guitar. They had their own unique sound, there's no doubt about it. And I like Bono's voice. But as a band, it was kind of weird. I didn't think they'd go further as well.
Well, I thought the name
Everyone was talking in the '80s. Everyone was talking about U2. I said, "What? You know, what's this?"
When they first they came out with their flock of seagulls hairdos and their name, which was I didn't understand what the name was, and but it's funny though. You talk about them. I used to play in a few bands in the '80s, and you're right though. U2 really doesn't. It's probably one of the reasons why they are so unique in that they didn't spend their time learning other bands and they couldn't play other bands. And you could actually see their musicianship increase over the decades. You can see the bass player improve, the drummer improve, but their music is so different. And there was a lot of people that I met that in the 80s that were young like that they just decided they were going to get in a band. Like one of the first new wave band I played in the 80s was there was a guy who just got a guitar and said, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. He wants to play the Police, right? Yeah. And there's another one-hit band, the Police. And they said, I'm going to learn it. And you think about it from a guitar perspective, the Police isn't that bad. And then so the bass player wanted to do the same thing, and they just learned. But then they just started writing their own material, and they never really sounded like anybody else. And the Police was very much like that. So.
Yeah, very unique. They defined their own sound.
Absolutely.
Which is great, There's a lot of bands that did that, and there's a lot of copycat bands out there. But when you get a band like U2 or the Police who define their own sound, I mean that's they that's what makes them legendary.
Yeah, I mean,
and in our last show, one of our last shows, we talked about David Bowie, what an original he was.
Absolutely. Did he have any? Yeah, he had lots of hits. Yeah, he
had hits.
Yeah, he wasn't a one-hit wonder.
As I don't know if avant-garde is even an appropriate word, but as different and avant-garde as he was, he still had hits. Yeah. He had stuff that got played on the radio.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what I found interesting, I went through this list of one-hit wonders on Wikipedia, and what I got interested in was how many of these actually went to number one. I mean, you could have a hit. It could be on the top 40. But how many of these actually went to number one? And I thought, if you went to number one, you've got something happening there. And why is it you couldn't produce another hit after that? And looking at the list, I came to realize there's maybe two reasons why these made it to number one. One was that it was a novelty song.
Okay.
And being a novelty song, everyone's saying, "Oh, have you heard that song? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's that funny song. Oh, turn it up." That kind of thing.
Like the Macarena.
Yeah, let's go buy that 45. But when they come up with their next one, it's like, well, what's this?
That happens so often.
That's right. The other reason I found was that a lot of these were part of some kind of a TV or a movie soundtrack.
Okay.
And therefore the movie would be incredibly popular. But the song probably wouldn't have become a number one without the movie. I'll just give you an example. Is that one by Dirty Dancing? I've had the time of my life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that whoever
Jennifer
that guy
Warnes,
is. Jennifer Warnes and another guy.
And the other guy.
Yeah, I don't think they had any. I think Jennifer Warnes might have, but this other guy wouldn't have had any other hits, I don't think. But it was the success of that movie that was an incredibly popular movie. So...
But that was also, Jeff, a time. Like, soundtracks were big then, too.
Yeah.
And that was, like, now, people had music on soundtracks, but it's really an afterthought when, back in the 80s, soundtracks were like, that was a huge deal to get on a soundtrack.
Yes.
Footloose and, all of these different movies, like I said, Dirty Dancing, they all had these massive soundtracks and
do they do that anymore? I mean, do they actually release an album of music from a film?
I don't know.
It was a popular thing at one time, but I don't think you really see that a whole lot more anymore.
I think soundtracks have been replaced by celebrities doing voice acting now in cartoons. They're so busy doing that, and I actually don't think. I think now there's so many people that can record music in their basement, like me. That they probably don't even pay for these things anymore. Like the soundtracks are it doesn't require. The soundtrack doesn't sell the movies anymore.
No, and I think that's what they needed in those days was to help promote the movie. Was say, let's get a whole bunch of hits on this record, and people will want to buy the record. And when they've got the record, what's on the cover? Well, it's the movie poster, so that might get them into theaters or rent the VHS or whatever. I think now they're really going on YouTube and trailers to really promote the movies.
Yeah, it's completely different.
It's a different. Digital and the internet have changed the game on so many playing fields. The movie industry, the recording industry, everything.
Well, that makes sense, though, what you say, though, the gadget songs, right? Were those songs that are those one-hit wonders, and I can see...
Here's another one, The Hustle by Van McCoy.
Yeah.
Remember The Hustle?
Yeah, for sure.
Do The Hustle. Everyone knows that, but who the frig knows who Van McCoy is?
But that whole disco area bred a whole slew of one-hit wonders. Right?
Yeah. And another example of that would be Disco Duck.
That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That's pretty good, Jeff.
I can almost do it, right?
Yeah, but there's a couple here that are kind of cool, like Brother Louie by the Stories. Remember that? Louie.
I love that song.
Louie.
That had a lot of soul.
The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia by Vicki Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's an interesting song, but maybe a bit of a novelty to that. Had a bit of a story to it.
Yeah, had a story to it.
Welcome Back by John Sebastian, and again, the popularity of that TV show.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Sprung that song up, and I don't think John Sebastian had any other, big success outside of his band in the 60s,
No, I don't think.
David Soul, Don't Give Up on Us Baby, which I thought was an absolutely horrible song. But David Soul was so popular with his Starsky and Hutch and his tight blue jeans. So I guess all the gals went out and bought that one.
Don't give up on us, baby. I remember all these things.
And for other reasons, We Are the World, USA for Africa.
Yeah.
And that's just a one-shot deal. They weren't going to do anything else after that, but that went to number one. Funky Town by Lips Incorporated. These are number ones, and
right.
And I guess the reason for it is that they're unique in their own way because it's a novelty or it's associated with some kind of a movie or a TV show or a political event.
Well, let's face it, though. Really, if you were tied to disco, you were tied to one hit. It's like there were exceptions to the one-hit wonders. There was Casey and the Sunshine Band had a number of songs. Obviously, the Bee Gees had a number of disco songs. Donna Summer was another one. Had a number of songs that outlasted. That it wasn't just those one-hit wonders through that period, but. But you were limited to disco. And that's the same thing that happened in the 80s with New Wave. There was a whole slew of bands in the early 80s and mid 80s that had one song, and they were so stuck in a genre, you know what I mean? Like it was like where bands like I don't know, even Rush. They take a band like Rush. They tried to play new wave. They did. They tried to play raga, They played like New World Man, and they had songs where they started bringing these backbeat rhythms and stuff. And bands like Kiss tried to jump on the disco bandwagon, But they had this other career and this other body of work that sustained them, whereas all these other ones came and went with the. Like I said, I mentioned a flock of seagulls. And I run so far away. And I know I ran. Yeah, I ran.
Past tense. He already ran.
He ran. Well, I couldn't tell. His hair was going one way and his lips were going another.
He had run.
But that was just the. But that was the. If you were tied, if your style was driven, if your style came from the era as opposed to your style, then you were one hit
exactly wonder. Because a lot of these bands were somewhat defined, by the style of the music that was out at the time. Good observation. And they weren't, you take someone like Bowie who wasn't conforming to those decades, and he what?
He flexed though.
Definitely.
He took parts of it. That's what I'm saying. Like bands that really got somewhere, they dovetailed onto it a little bit, but didn't lose. If they were successful, they didn't lose who they were, and so they could continue. Like we talked about U2 earlier. They were one of the exceptions in that early '80s genre because they eclipsed it.
They came out in the '80s and succeeded through the '80s, but they didn't sound like anyone else.
But
they didn't have that '80s sound at all.
But they grew. They changed. Yeah. Their music. You look at one album to the next, their album started to sound different.
Yeah, and today I had some random Bowie on repeat play, and came to Let's Dance, Modern Love, and Genie. No, Blue Jean. And I thought to myself, that's when he really broke out in the 80s and kind of, made a little bit of at least a pop comeback. But that stuff didn't sound 80s at all to me. It had its own unique sound.
Right.
I think Bowie just took advantage of the opportunity to say everyone is making videos and getting noticed, so I'm going to do the same thing. And here's my new album, and here are my videos, and I'm going to, put myself right in there with all the other Flock of Seagulls and U2 and everyone else, and and he succeeded, and he didn't sound 80s. At least to me, it didn't sound.
Well, what's funny was while that was all going on, in the same thing in the 70s, let's face it, hit radio, top 40 radio was what drives the one-hit wonders, not the album FM stations. So if you look at the 80s, if you remember in the 80s, while all this was going on, all this new wave was going on, there was this counterculture going on in the background, which was the classic rockers holding on for dear life, and the new thrash metal bands coming out in the like Metallica starting and Iron Maiden. These were all starting to happen in the background. Judas Priest, right? All these bands were just holding on to their manhood.
Well, the thing is, metal had really almost defined itself. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but metal really grew in the 80s. They weren't getting airplay. They weren't mainstream at all. But when you started to mention that, I started to think of a different line of stuff.
What?
People that weren't getting airplay, but like The Cure, The Smiths, REM, Susie and the Banshees.
Right.
Just so many of those are under what you call underground artists who were making a good career, selling albums, and had a big following, but they certainly weren't mainstream FM radio.
And there was that minor blip when we actually had punk.
Yeah.
Which it
didn't stick around for
not long at all. I mean, it certainly influenced a lot of things subsequent to its, but it definitely did not stick around for long. So the reason I mentioned that is because while there was one-hit wonders going on at the same time, like I said, there was these other bands that were creating careers with longevity at the same time. I mean, you look at them, I don't know, the one-hit wonders. I was thinking of some bands that, they're one-hit wonders, but they only had one hit, but they still had longevity. Like you take bands, like I said, Rush.
Well, Ted Nugent was in the list of one-hit wonders.
Really?
Now, Ted's had a very success. Yeah, it was Cat Scratch Fever.
It was
I
a
mean,
hit. Oh,
that I guess it was a hit. I guess it got a bit of play for him. It charted, basically. Is what I'm trying to
got
say.
you.
But I mean, Ted had a successful career. I mean, he sold millions of albums. Same thing with Kiss. I mean, Kiss really only had a couple of hits,
Beth.
but sold millions of albums. It's it's the 13-year-old, 14-year-old boys who don't want to buy Lionel Richie or Hall & Oates. They want to buy Kiss, AC/DC, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden, and go home and turn it up loud. So they're still selling the albums to teenage kids, but they're not getting airplay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I was thinking that you take a band like there's one-hit wonders that still thrive. Like I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about thought about Rush, for instance, as a band. They really only had one hit, and it was
No, I think they had more than that.
A hit? Well, not really.
Well, Tom Sawyer was probably their big hit.
No, Closer to the Heart was.
I heard a lot more than that. Yeah, but I heard a lot more than that by them on the radio.
Yeah, but it wasn't hits. It was FM radio. It was like album radio. I don't think if you look at the charting, I think they would consider I think on the list they would consider New World Man a hit, and as a one-hit wonder. But Closer to the Heart was the song that really broke them out in the late '70s, and I wonder how important that was to their longevity. At the time, like you mentioned one the other day, we were talking about was Thin Lizzy. With the Boys Are Back in Town.
Boys Are Back in Town.
But if you go listen to, and I'm a big Thin Lizzy fan, and I know you're not really a big Thin Lizzy fan.
No, I never really got into them. I like Phil Lynott.
Yeah, but if you go listen to Thin Lizzy, that song sticks out like a sore thumb in their record, in their disc, in their collection. It doesn't fit. In fact, it doesn't hardly even fits into their collection whatsoever.
Yeah, because a lot of people who would listen to, say, I don't know, Kiss, just for example, right? The one song they do know was "I Was Made for Loving You,"
or Beth.
And I'm thinking, or Beth. It's like that so doesn't sound like them.
Well, here's another band.
And there's a lot of bands like that, and it's like REM's another good example. They had some really, really cool stuff, and then they started going a little more mainstream,
right?
Trying to get those hits, trying to get the radio play, and had a different sound altogether. Like Shiny Happy People, that's not REM, that's pop, and REM were different than that.
Yeah, they had like 4 songs. Like this one goes out to the one I love, and there's a few that kind of got some play. And I was thinking of other ones that, and I'd be curious to hear what people, what reflections other people have of their one-hit wonders. And here's another one: Metallica is a one-hit wonder.
Interesting.
That was their only. That's the only song I'm sure that charted. Maybe Nothing Else Matters. Maybe, but
Turn the Page. I think they had some success with
that's
that.
cover, right?
Mainly because it's a cover and it was very low key and it wasn't in your face.
Certainly wouldn't be a hit though. But Enter Sandman was launched them in a whole direction that all Metallica fans, prior to that, weren't really appreciative of. And but that was their one hit. What do you think about Cheap Trick? How many hits did Cheap Trick have?
Not many. I mean that one.
You want me to? I want you to want me.
me.
Dream Police got some airplay.
Dream Police got a little bit of attention because that was the follow up to Live at Budokan.
Yeah,
and everybody
is it Budokan or Budokan?
I don't know.
We get in trouble one day.
Japanese, they'll know.
Well, we did the show, and I remember the last show we did the Kiss, Watching You, the Kiss Talk show, which you can find on YouTube at youtube.com, East Coast Kiss Tribute. You had mentioned, how did you say it, Budokan?
We always said Budokan.
Yeah, so you said
Budokan.
that.
I guess it's Budokan.
Anyway, some troll made fun of it, and it was the same in terms of how you say it.
We don't know. We don't live in Tokyo, so we don't know.
I actually don't know. But that was the first time I heard it called that. So.
Yeah. Well, what I made, Jeff, was a short list of I went down through the list of one-hit wonders, and I made a short list of ones that kind of surprised me that these groups, because of the awesomeness of the song.
Right.
I'm starting to sound like Wayne and Garth. The awesomeness of the song. To me, it's like why did we not hear a lot more? Like why did I not buy more albums by these people?
Like who?
There's a lot here. But I'll just touch on a few. Inagata Davida by Iron Butterfly. That, to me, that's very Zeppelin-like and just, very Black Sabbath-like.
Yeah, but everybody was friggin' on heroin and acid.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't know why Iron Butterfly is not... I don't even know who's in on it. Like, these are bands I can't name the singer or the guitar player.
Well,
right?
Bart Simpson...
And yet these are great hits. I'll give you the one that really gets me the most.
Before you move on, though, you have to realize that Inagata Davida was so popular... It was covered twice. It was covered by Bart Simpson in The Simpsons.
Well, no, it was the church organ.
But he gave her the music, though, right? In the Garden of Eden, baby. Yeah. Big organ solo, and then she collapses on the...
Oh, my God. She's reading it note for note, right?
Max Webster, Kim Mitchell does
Really?
Makes a reference to the God of David in one of his songs. Yeah. Anyway, what else you got there?
Well, the one that gets me the most is Black Betty by Ram.
Yeah.
Look, I knew a band back in St. John's, Newfoundland, back in the day, and they used to cover Black Betty. My God, people were in awe.
I imagine.
And I've tried to learn Black Betty on guitar, and it's certainly tricky. The drum part alone is it's like Neil Peart drumming, right? And I'm thinking, this is incredibly technical rock and very likable. I mean, everybody knows it. Everyone can sing it.
Yeah.
But whatever happened to Ram Jam? How come they didn't do anything else?
I wonder if they even existed.
I don't know. I don't even know the guitar player in Ram Jam.
Either.
I don't know. They're not in your face the way some other bands are. Like, people are still talking about Sabbath. People are still talking about Iron Maiden. People are still talking about Deep Purple. Right? But
classic,
who's Ram Jam?
Classic, though. I remember that in high school, 1977, 1978.
Everybody had that 40. At least you had the 45. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it was...
And everyone was going around singing it.
Oh, you couldn't wait for that to come on, right?
Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry.
Yeah.
Frank, how come we don't know anything else about this band? And everybody knows that, and everybody... I have yet to be in a band where we didn't attempt it. Some we played it well, but at least we attempted it in almost every band.
That's it.
All right, there you go. Yeah, you should have said we were bringing guitars.
I just picked it up. I just did that through my microphone there. I knew it'd make you jealous. Now you'd be all jealous because you don't get a guitar.
That's right, yeah.
But
Bang a Gong, Get It On by T-Rex.
Yeah.
T-Rex gets mentioned in some, is it a Mop the Hoople song? I got it something, I got T-Rex, All the Young Dudes.
Yeah. Is it in that
Which is another song on my list, All the Young Dudes. He mentions the band T-Rex.
Yeah.
And T-Rex is just one of those bands that, it seems like everybody seems to mention them or talk about them, but I don't know. Bang a gong, get it on. That seems like that's all they were able to get on. Anyway, Love Hurts by Nazareth. And they did have Hair of the Dog, but I don't think that got a lot of airplay, mainly because of the
This
Son
Flight
of a Bitch
Tonight was the
reference.
other one that got a little bit of play.
Yeah.
That's that Canadian band, right?
Yeah, that Canadian band. Get out. Get out. You hoser.
Get out, eh?
Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. That's such a cool tune, and why, what else did Warren do?
I don't know.
These are the ones that surprise me. I'm thinking, these are such cool friggin' kick-ass tunes, and I just don't know why these bands didn't.
Well,
have
how many
bigger
hits
careers.
did Leonard Skinner have?
Yeah, but probably Sweet Home Alabama and a few others.
But
I think they had that longevity. I think they had that album longevity and huge following. And I mean, you can name at least 3 or 4 players.
Oh yeah, that's the difference. That's my point, though. That's the difference, right, between these bands that come up with a hit, and again, it comes back to you have a basis of real organic music behind it.
Yeah,
and like I said, Wild Cherry. That was a takeoff in the disco. It was right around the same time as Disco Duck. It might have been. It was probably on the same record as Disco Duck, right? But it had a killer lead solo in it.
Oh my God, it was great.
Loved it.
He plays a white Les Paul Custom.
Yeah,
which I love. The Night Chicago Died by Paper Lace. I thought that was.
I know, but it's.
I had the record and I thought it was great.
But it was all the same time as there's these situational songs like The Night Chicago Died, and then there was Billy, Don't Be a Hero. Right? It was all these songs that came out at the same time that were all kind of bubblegummy story kind of songs. That was around the night. That was around the same time as the night the lights went out in Georgia. It was all around that.
Yes.
It was that. That was the thing then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Stand up and be a hero kind of song.
Yeah.
Okay, now our Canadian content.
Okay, you got some.
Fantasy by Aldo Nova. Man, is there a Canadian that rocks as hard as that guy? That is a kick-ass tune.
Yeah, it is, really.
Nothing else from the guy.
Was that the only one? Yeah, it was.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know if anything else he did.
Yeah.
Rock On, David Essex.
That's a really.
Now, he might have been
song.
bigger in Britain, so he's a Brit.
Yeah.
So he might have had a bigger success over there, but I think that's just the one tune from him that we did get.
Yeah.
And Lou Reed, Take a Walk on the Wild Side, his only hit. And there are huge Lou Reed fans out there.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that people like and they don't even know.
Yeah. You mentioned that.
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's cool to like Lou Reed. I'm a big Lou Reed fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Lou Reed. Yeah. Yeah.
That reminds me of one time I was working in Calgary, and I was working with these 2 guys, and one guy says, I'm the biggest Lou Reed fan. No. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm the biggest Lou Reed fan. And I'm thinking, now, Lou Reed, what the frig does he say? And I thought, am I not cool? These guys seem cool. I don't think I'm cool. I don't listen to Lou Reed. Anyway.
I don't know. I mean, you could come up with thousands of these things, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I was thinking of one. Edgar Winter Group had remember Edgar Winter Group had Free Ride, and Frankenstein. Yeah. And Frankenstein was all instrumental.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's kick-ass.
I agree.
Keep Your Hands to Yourself by Georgia Satellites. I thought that that's cool enough for the rockers, and it's simple enough for the average FM listeners. I thought that they'd have more. I thought they had a little more longevity, but
yeah, and that's a really good one because it seemed to be it seemed to be something you could duplicate. Mm-hmm. Right? You know, it wasn't like...
It's a 12-bar blues. Yeah. You take someone like George Thorogood.
Yeah.
He was doing the same thing. He had a string of hits doing friggin' 12-bar blues, and I found him boring as hell.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first...
I never liked Thorogood.
The first 10 minutes of some of his songs were interesting, and then it kind of went on.
Yeah. Yeah. How much more slide guitar do we need to listen to? And that was another thing. Like, when I was in college in the 80s... You know, everyone, Thorogood. Really? Oh, man. And I thought, how uncool will I look when I say to these people, you know what? I don't like Thorogood. Can you play something more exciting? Anyway, I kept it to myself.
My dog likes Bad to the Bone, but I remember that was cool. The Miami Vice back in the 80s used Bad to the Bone on one of their episodes, and it was perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
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 The Miami Vice theme song was one of those top 10.
Red Rider's another band like that.
Yep.
What did they have with the White Hot? That was about it, right?
Well, before that, I'm thinking Lunatic Fringe.
Yeah, was that?
And that's Canadian. I don't know how well that made across the border or worldwide.
I mean, Tom Cochrane had a lot of stuff on his own afterwards, but I'm not sure the Red Rider component had all that much. Max Webster only had one song that had any play, which was Paradise Skies, and A Million Vacations, maybe a little bit on A Million Vacations, but
yeah. Excuse me. Here's a list of one-hit wonders that to me make sense. They make sense. It makes sense that they'd only be one-hit wonders.
Let's go.
Dueling Banjos by Eric Weisberg and Steve Mandel. Again, it was made for a movie.
Yeah.
Dead Skunk by Loudon Wainwright III. It was a novelty
Is
song.
Convoy on that list?
It
should be. We got a great big convoy across the USA. Convoy.
Oh, Big Bear, you got your ears on.
Hey, man, Danny. Yeah, that was the whole.
We got a Smokey coming out exit 95.
Remember that? Remember what CB radio
well,
craze?
That's that whole Smokey and the Bandit craze.
But that was that CB craze. Everybody had a CB radio.
Oh, yeah, and they had movies about CB radios. And,
well, that was a skunk in the middle. It was right on the same time, yeah.
Yeah, highway songs are popular.
Oh, yeah.
People like highway songs. The Happy Days theme song by Pratt and McLean.
Yeah, okay.
Pop music. Remember pop music?
Pop music. Talk about
New York, London, Paris, Munich. Everybody talk about pop music. Talk about pop music. Talk about.
And then, okay, so what was the?
But here's the thing.
Whip it.
I don't think that's not. I don't. think
It's got to be on there.
I don't know.
It'd be good.
But pop music made it to number one.
Really?
That was a number one hit.
Video killed the radio star.
Again, it's the novelty of it. Okay. Now I got a question for you.
Good.
I'm gonna be Casey Kasem. Can I do my Casey Kasem impersonation?
I hope you can.
This is gonna be terrible, right?
That's still
okay. I'm gonna sound like Ronald Reagan doing this, right?
All
right. Here's your long distance question, Jeff. Can you tell me what Muppet made it to the top 40?
I would have to say that was Kermit the Frog with It's Not Easy Being Green.
Oh, close.
Was it Miss Piggy?
It was Kermit. No, it was Kermit the Frog.
The Rainbow Connection.
The Rainbow Connection, yeah. Made it to number 25.
Well, that's a great song. I cried.
And Kermit never had a hit after that.
I cried.
I mean, it's sad, right?
I cried in that song.
Did you?
I'm not even joking.
Oh, hey, here's some more Canadian content.
Okay, I like Canadian content. CD
Hoser, take off.
Oh, that one?
16, made it to 16.
Which one was that, though? Oh, Take Off to the Great White
Bob
North.
and Doug McKenzie, Take Off to the Great White North.
Okay, that had Geddy Lee in it.
Geddy Lee made a guest appearance.
Yes, he did. It sounded like
and
shrill
and one of the brothers was playing organ, and the other guy was playing drums. Get out.
No way.
Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, which is just bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Anyway.
But it was
so these are ones that make sense. They're one-hit wonders, and I don't expect anything else from these people.
Who else?
Pia Zadora. Do you know who Pia Zadora is?
Gesundheit. What?
Pia Zadora, the clapping song. More like the clap song.
I don't know. I know the name. I know
she was some kind of sex symbol.
Yeah, I know
in
who
the
she
80s.
is, but I don't know. I don't remember her singing anything. I just remember her looking at the camera.
Yeah. And Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It.
They had 2 songs though.
Yeah, the other one I don't think was as big a hit.
Take it. I Want to Rock.
Yeah,
that was pretty big.
Which I kind of like, but We're Not Gonna Take It. I mean that.
Helix. You gotta have
was
Helix.
all
Is Helix on
over
that list?
the radio. No,
Well, there should be. Helix with R-O-C-K, right? Give me an R-O-C. They spelled the whole thing right, too.
they did spell it right. I'm surprised.
Trailer Park Boys reference. Big Trailer Park Boys reference. I'm not going to give you a fucking R. That's Bubbles, just in case you don't know. You know what's really surprising, Jeff?
You know what? I have yet to watch that show.
Oh man!
And I think it's going to be a sad day.
Man,
the day I have to turn to that for entertainment.
You gotta get off of your high horse, my friend, because this is all over. They have their own whiskey now. They have their own net on Netflix. They have SwearNet. These guys are known all over the world now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
there's
people in St.
following.
Louis wearing Trailer Park Boys shirts.
Yeah.
right? It's not rocket appliances, my friend.
No. Well, I don't know. I've yet to watch it, and I don't think I will anytime soon.
Oh,
but
you know what?
To each his own is what I say.
Well, you can't. Well, unless you taste something, how do you know you don't like it?
Well,
Oh, wait, let's move on.
you know what? I don't have time.
Move
to watch
on.
it.
That was a
There you
Paul
go.
Stanley hit.
Moving on. Yeah. So that's my list. That's what I had to say about one hit
That's
wonders.
it?
What did you have to add to it?
Well, I guess what I was going to say is, like I said, I was mostly looking at no-hit wonders. Like, there's so many,
Yeah.
there's, like I said, there's bands that are some of the best bands in the whole world. Over time, have never had one hit. Yeah, not what you would call a hit. And I kind of delved into a little bit of those. Like I said, I'm just trying to look through my list here. I mean, we pretty much covered them all, I'd say. I mean, but the one-hit wonder phenomena, to me, has always been, if I've ever felt disenchanted by the music business or people who like music, or it's usually because of the same things. It's like why are these things popular? Like you said, the gimmick songs, like it's all about that bass, no trail, all about that bass.
Hey, you want to know? It's funny you mentioned that. What's her name? Megan Trainor?
Yeah, it's a guitar amplifier.
I heard that song and I thought to myself, that is such a novelty song. There's no way that girl is going to ever come up with anything that'll even chart. And you want to know? I ate my words, because everything she puts out is a friggin' hit.
Well,
and I like it. I like everything she does, and I don't like a whole
you like
lot
that
of
song?
I can listen to it. That song is probably the least ones of the ones that I like.
it's not that I.
Of the ones that she does. She has that. That's the one I like the
it's
least.
not that I just. It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just the type of thing that it's an obvious grab for. Like any music that's an obvious grab for lack of creativity. Like I said, it's like I got a stick in my eye. Right, I made a shit pie. That's the kind of thing. That.
Yeah, but you want to know something? You get past that song and listen to other stuff she's got on the radio. That girl is talent, and I'll tell you, she's not going away.
Hey,
anywhere.
listen, I've been around long enough not to. I'm just pointing out that specific song, what made it popular. But I far be it for me to judge the rest of her, the quality of what she does. Just as it wouldn't be appropriate for me to judge the quality of someone who has some artistically, fantastic song, and then the rest of it is garbage. So, but it's just, I think it's the traits that make these things the way they are. And it's like the American Idol syndrome and the Voice syndrome, where the big notes are what's important, and the catchy phrases that you or I, unlike me, I never did continue to like. What was the name of that band you liked from Scotland? What are those guys' names again? I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
SATURDAY night.
The Saturday morning curlers.
DAY night. Yeah. It's those things that just kind of drive me, that drove me away from those kind of things. But no, that's pretty good, Jeff. I mean,
but I think you touched on something interesting a minute ago, like the no hit wonders.
Yeah,
and
lots of them.
I mean, you look at a band like, let's say, Black Sabbath, hugely successful,
hits, right?
And no hits. They don't want radio play. They don't want to be on the radio. No, because who are they selling albums to? 14 and 15-year-old boys who take it home and play it loud.
Yeah.
And want to be like Tony Iommi.
Yeah.
That's who they're
Deep
selling
Purple.
to. And they don't care if they get on the radio at all. Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin.
Deep Purple. But Deep Purple did have a hit. It's Smoke on the Water.
Yeah. Is it a hit, or is it just that everybody knows it?
Yeah,
there's a difference.
It was a hit at
There's
the
a
time.
difference.
It got a lot of airplay at the time.
It?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't get as much airplay as Kung Fu Fighting, mind you, but it did pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Jeff. There's a lot of one-hit wonders
There
there.
you go.
I'm wondering.
Yeah. I'm wondering too.
I wonder where the lines. Oh, you know what? I looked on one of those lists. They said on one of those lists that Bruce Cockburn was a one-hit wonder. And as I thought about it, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, we had a few hits. Lovers in a Dangerous Time. He had Wonder Where the Lines Are. I think that's what.
If I Had a Rocket Launcher.
If I Had a Rocket Launcher was a great song. Yeah, and
great political song.
he's Canadian. Another more CDA. What is it? More CRTC.
I wouldn't call him a one-hit wonder, but I think
That's
a
what
lot
I'm
of the
saying.
Canadian bands are getting we're getting airplay because we needed the Canadian
There
content.
you go. Right.
So maybe they weren't hits. Maybe he didn't have any hits. We just happen to know the songs.
Well, the fact be known, the only reason why we're doing the show is for CRTC purposes.
Exactly.
Right? If it wasn't for CRTC, we wouldn't even exist, Jeff.
That's right.
I wouldn't.
We're coming up on
There we
40
go.
minutes. So we're going to axe this one for now and get it on the air as soon as we can. So for One Hit Wonders, any last words?
Yeah,
Jeff?
for sure. Make sure you go. If you listen to the show, go to the Spreaker page, favorite it so you get the updates automatically. It'll come in your email. There is a YouTube page. It's getting a few hits there too, Jeff. It's just YouTube. And just look for Radio Blah Blah Podcast. You'll find us there. We have it also on our old East Coast Kiss tribute page, just to keep it there for the subscribers of our old show, so they can find us and come see us on our Facebook page. Again, Radio Blah Blah Podcast. We really like you to weigh in on this stuff. We don't tend to get too much of that, but that would make it much more interesting for you and I to get some audience participation. So there you go. So that's it. One Hit Wonders.
There you go. Well, I'm Jeff Scott in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada.
And he's Jeff Scott in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. And I'm Jeff Gray.
Thank you, cool Uncle
that's what
Jeff
makes me
over
cool.
in Nova
I do
Scotia.
things like that.
That's what makes you cool, yeah, and very unpredictable.
Oh, that's my style.
All right, signing off. We'll see you on the next episode.
There
Jeff.
it was.
All right, then. Take care. Bye-bye, folks.